day. Your love was nothing more than fate.
Hi, guys. This is Laura with Stuff I Find Interesting, and that is Troy Frederick pushing me away. A new artist I've been listening to. He doesn't have a whole lot of subscribers, so maybe show him some love. We're going to have another song of his at the end. I don't know him. He doesn't know me. I just really like his music, so I'm always about sharing the music. So this is Stuff I Find Interesting 60. If you're new, my name is Laura. I'm from New York. I share stuff that I find interesting. That's it. No frills. Just me talking for long amounts of time. So before I go any further, I know people are probably on the edge of, I know you're probably on the edge of your seat wondering, well, did you get the job, Laura? And yes, I'm happy to report I got the job. I am now employed. Tomorrow will be my first day. And I was very happy, very relieved too. So the job is like a mile and a half from my house. It's something I'm capable of doing. It's not going to be too difficult. The hours are beautiful. I'm a happy girl. So my love of all things interesting started about when I was about, I don't know, my late 20s, early 30s. I had my own business, and I did antiques and collectibles, and the internet had just started. And one of the things I would do is I would research all of the stuff that I found to see where it was from, who made it, how old was it valuable. And this was during the wild years of the early internet, and I would track stuff down. Whatever was out there, I would track down. So I got very good at looking stuff up, and I fell down various rabbit holes, and I tend to be sort of bookish, if you will. So here I am talking about stuff I find interesting, a natural extension. This was recommended by Lori, I believe. This is some scary women swinging swords. I have a sword. Ooh, hold on. No, I'm not going to swing the sword. Don't worry. Look at these ladies. Where's this really badass one? Oh, this chick. This is the OG. I will not be swinging my sword today. So, that is Russian Cossack women. Traditional Cossack swordsmanship. It's still widely taught and practiced by both men and women as part of the Cossack culture. And the name of that song, in case you're interested, is Russian Host. Everything I share is always in the links. Some of the stuff I share might be dodgy, so let me just put that out there. So whatever you click on, you're clicking on at your own risk. I've already clicked on it. My computer hasn't died horribly, so I'm assuming it's okay, but it's really on you to use discernment as to whether or not you want to click that link, because I'm not a technological expert, and I'm certainly not above clicking on stuff that I probably shouldn't. Now, this is something terrifying I saw this week. This is in Peru. Let's watch what happens. Driving along. Uh-oh. BAM! Duh! Whoa! Here's the guy as he was driving. And then you can see his face. He's like, oh my God. All right. It's terrifying. So anyway, everybody was okay. The road was not okay. The vehicles were not okay. Those gentlemen were undoubtedly injured, but they were okay. They were not critical. Surprisingly, the way that one truck got hit. I mean, let's look at that rock. You can see that rock starting to fall. BAM! Terrifying. Right? 1 minute you're driving along, the next minute a rock falls on you. So we're going to review some of the stuff that I've been talking about. You know, I've been talking about Atlantis. We're going to talk a little bit more about Atlantis today. But right now I want to talk about Easter Island very quickly because it's going to be something that I'm going to talk about going forward. And that is the idea that in the past, Easter Island was actually connected loosely to Peru via a series of islands. And part of that is because of the stonework that we have. And we can see it's very similar to other places. And you might say, oh, Laura, it's stones. You know, these stacked stones, they all look the same. No, they don't look the same. The way they're joined, the way they sit, the different angles. I would also add there are some rocks like this that I showed you a couple of weeks ago in Syria. There's also some, I believe, where was it? I want to say Mexico. But they're everywhere. This type of construction is everywhere. Why did they put a little random stone in that little spot? I don't know. Something we're going to come back to. Now, as we've been talking about Atlantis, there's this idea of, well, why hasn't anybody found it? Like, it should be right there or right there. Or we can look at Google Earth, right? Because we have all this information at our fingertips and just find it. Well, this is a picture of Nubia. Part of Nubia. Nubia, obviously huge land, not just one little spot, but this is part of Nubia. This is some sort of structure, just a house, completely buried by the sand. And that is why perhaps we can't find the Sahara. Maybe it's buried under the sand. We have another picture. Oh no! It got rid of the pictures. Huh. Weird. There was another picture to demonstrate stuff covered by sand, but it's not real. It's not real critical. Let's go to Mauritania for a minute. Let's go back to Mauritania. So we've been talking about this idea that the Richat structure is Atlantis because of the rings and see, she's going to show right here. See, there it is. We've been talking about this and talking about this and talking about this. Like a lot. This is what it looks like in the Richat. As you can see, it's very hard to see. These are some of the people that live out in that area. There's probably the library. These are just random people.
A lesson I learned in Mauritania.
This is another Mauritania traveler. It's going to be in the links. This is mostly for you to kind of look at. This is just to kind of add on to all the stuff we've been talking to add a human element, factual element, and to really get it into people's ideas that you can't just bop out there and look around. Like it's just not possible. It's the Sahara's huge, surrounded by war. It's hard to get to. There's no water. There's no light, no anything. So this is another motorcyclist. And she talks about her journeys. And she talks about getting stuck. This is an oasis. And that's her in a pretty dress. I didn't realize she was wearing a pretty dress in this. Okay, well, that's neat. She's enchanting. It's a lovely video. And then this, we're not going to share it all, but this is about the traditions and the culture of the people that live there. And I include that because within that culture, if the Atlantis is in that area, there's a nugget of that somewhere in there. Dress, speech, myths. There's something in there that's going to connect. But this is really just about how they work, how they live. And this is the port of Nouakchott. Now, this is a little bit of ways from Richat. This is obviously on the ocean since they're fishing. But not too far away. Not too far away. Now, something I found interesting this week is that the Richat, which was right here, was only about 4 or 5 hours away from New York, as the crow flies. Back in the day when Pangea was Pangea. Pangea are all of the continents like mashed together before they started moving around. And the continents have always moved apart, moved together for as long as there have been continents. This is one of the ways that it looked throughout the millions and millions and millions of years. But New York and the Richat, not too far away from each other. This will be the lakes. This is, you can look at it. You can see how everything, if we look, let's see, what is Antarctica connected to? See, Antarctica is connected to India. Oh, we're going to have to take a closer look at India for sure. Fascinating. While I was doing my Mauritania Richat Atlantis extravaganza, I discovered this young man who is one of the most traveled people. So most traveled people is an actual thing. We'll check that out in a second. If you travel to a lot of places, you can be like on a list of the most traveled people in the entire world. This gentleman is traveling to Antarctica, but we immediately see that this is not the Antarctica that you and I would be traveling. This is someone who has disposable income. He is here with his girlfriend, and we can see that he's having a lovely time. And look how spacious the seat is. Okay. Most traveled people. We have most traveled people. We have Harry Mitsidis with 1,362 countries that he has traveled. And he has traveled Siberia, Tibet, Borku. I've never even heard of Borku. Yap Outer Islands. You know what? We're going to save this because there's probably some islands in there that I don't know about. That'll be interesting to find out. Anyway, going back to Christoph. So Christoph also went to the Richat structure with a different girlfriend. And it looks like he also had a lovely time there. Now, who is this mysterious guy? This is not something you might find interesting. This is just one of those weird little internet things that I was like, But let's go here. Christoph. He's a traveling entrepreneur, investor, and author. He's a master of flag theory. His mission is to help people from all over the world through clever strategies of legal arbitrage to achieve more freedom and wealth. And I just closed the page, but where's the part I wanted to share with you? Is it here? No. I don't know where it is. But basically, he openly admits that he tries to avoid paying taxes. So he travels all over the world. If you stay at one place for any longer than 82 days, I guess, then you have to start thinking about paying taxes. So he stays at a certain place for an amount of time, and then he moves on because he's avoiding paying taxes. And he helps people with money achieve more freedom and wealth, which basically means find tax loopholes. Now, this kind of bothers me a little bit. Oh, here it is. Yeah, he's a millionaire. He sails away from taxes. He has never paid a cent in taxes. He has decided on life as a globetrotter in order to escape the tax authorities. I mean, it's cool that he's traveling, right? I mean, I guess during COVID it was a problem. He thought he might get stuck somewhere. But here's why I have a problem with that. The poverty level in Germany is 11%, and it's especially high amongst seniors. So there are senior citizens sitting in their living room eating cat food while this gentleman sails around the world in his yacht. I don't know. It just doesn't seem fair. You know what I mean? It just strikes me the wrong way. Okay, I don't know that I want to share that. You know what? We're going to put that over here. So we've been talking about prison hooch, which is not a hobby of mine. I just find it fascinating that people are making alcohol out of random things. So this person says, this piece of trash literally smelled like gasoline and latex. I have a headache just from opening it up and trying to bottle it, similar to the feeling of using too much bleach cleaning product. What the actual fuck? So this person tried to make hooch using energy drinks, and it didn't resolve itself in a way that was drinkable. It's actually poison now. Okay, Now we're on to today's episode. We've wrapped up all of the past. This is just a beautiful picture. This is during the early days of photography, using a little bit of trickery to create this lovely, lovely photo. So this week I was on the internet, like I usually am, and I got to thinking about sewer systems and how, once again, when we are gone, 11 pictures, here we go, how when we are dead and gone, it'll just be our infrastructure that's going to be left behind. Our houses aren't really probably going to survive. It's going to be the stuff that's underground. And I don't know if you're aware, but some of the stuff that's underground is pretty extraordinary. Oh, this is stupid. What is this? What is going on? I hate this. Nothing is easy anymore on the internet. It's like we're going back to the Angel Fire days and pop-ups. Look at this incredible photo. The technology, the engineering, these are modern wonders, and they'll survive long after we are gone. Now, there are tunnels everywhere. We talk about tunnels all the time because I'm fascinated by tunnels. This goes into the history of tunnels, starting with prehistoric times, people who built them. It's kind of a huge kind of article, but there was one part, and this is something else that we're going to come back to, and that is the Croton Aqueduct in New York. What was I going to talk about? I'm not sure, guys. I think maybe I was just including this just to include it. Maybe. I don't know. Oh well. Enjoy history of the underground and tunnels. This gentleman found a 19th century tunnel under his home. He's going to clean it up and charge admission for people to come look at it. Now, an interesting thing about these brickworks is that these brickworks, if they're not properly maintained, do start to crumble. And then the only thing you have holding the bricks together are the weight of the bricks themselves. And if they get crumbly, moist, they can fall, and once they start to fall, the whole structure can collapse. What is this? I have no idea what that is. The story of London's sewer system. Hidden beneath London streets lie incredible tunnels and sewers that take waste from our homes. There's a video here for you to look at. This goes into the history of the London sewer. I just really wanted to kind of show you this one picture. It's been fancied up because it's a museum now, but this is all original. Like it had originally had the wrought iron. It originally had this fancy stair with the art, kind of deco or art nouveau, whatever it's got going on there. Let's look at some pictures of it, shall we? Incredible. I love old buildings. The London Underground. Oh, I know what I wanted to show you on that other page. It was this thing, but when it was first erected. So you can go back and you look for that picture. But it was a period picture after it had been installed. This is an engine. One of 3. Incredible, right? This also brought up other catacombs that I was not so much aware of. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Or the Odessa catacombs in Ukraine. Of course, there's catacombs. There would have to be, right, with all the war that's occurred in that area throughout the years. This is an example of underground in Odessa. So this is someone's, probably their shelter. We've got candles. Somebody's backpack. Cool, right? Very cool. So we'll probably come back to Odessa because I feel like that's something that would be interesting. Now, medieval Star Wars. This stuff is so good. Snapple, cherry, and fig black tea. It's delicious. Now, Star Wars may have been around before it was around, and I'm going to show you why. Now, you guys know that my other obsession in life, besides looking up interesting things, is illuminated manuscripts, medieval manuscripts. These pictures are from illuminated manuscripts back in the 13th century. Why, look, it's Yoda. Lightsabers. Chewbacca. More Chewbacca. Hey, that's a good one. I'm going to save that picture. An early Sith. Ewoks. A Jedi. That's just, I'm not sure what that is. Darth Vader. Cool, right? What do you think? You think Star Wars existed before Star Wars existed? Obviously not. These are just cherry-picked, but still interesting. Quick story time. When I was 8 years old, I played the Pied Piper in the elementary school play. So I played my flute. I had green tights, green little thing on, and I was the Pied Piper. Which is actually kind of cool that I think about it. That was like the lead role in that play, and I got it, and I was all like bummed. I don't even remember why I was bummed. I think I wanted a different role. I think I was like mad about playing a boy, but I did kind of look like a boy. The Pied Piper is based on truth. What that truth is not exactly clear. There are several theories. One of the theories about the Pied Piper is that it represents disasters. Like a disaster happened, 100 children went missing. We say the Pied Piper took them away, or they were killed. The Pied Piper took them away. Perhaps it was plague. Perhaps the Pied Piper is a representation of the plague. And the children that were led away were the children that all died horribly from the bubonic plague, or otherwise known as the Black Death. It's also suggested that the children were actually literally kidnapped by an enemy and never seen again. And then somehow this Pied Piper thing came about. Maybe he was whistling while he was walking. He had the kids all chained up in wagons and he was all... I'm not really sure, but there you go. Another story. I'm just full of stories today. I'm going to tell a quick story. We're going to look at this video. I'm not going to tell you what it's about. You don't need to know what it's about. I'm going to tell my story. I'm being a spaz. Usually when I bought things, when I had my own business, I knew if it was going to make money or not. I could hold it in my hand, and even if I didn't know what it was, I was like, yeah, that thing's going to make money. Well, there was one time, well, there were a couple of times, but this is one main time in my antiques collectibles career where I was completely wrong and did not know what I had and got rid of it for a song. Like sold it for like $25. So what am I talking about? I'm not talking about dead crabs. I am talking about these things. Free Tax USA. No, that's not what I'm talking about. This right here. Do you see that? That is a Japanese glass float. It could also be Norwegian. That particular one, though, is Japanese. So Japanese glass floats were used. Where's the picture that I have? This one, this one, this one, this one, this one. I guess I didn't save it. The ends of the net have the floats in them. So the net is balled up with the little floats dangling, and then it's cast out, And then as it cast out the little, in a circle, you've got the balls around the edge that hold it up so that it can be reconfigured. Well, $3,200, $1,900, $880, $650. I had a whole box of these things. And they were, I can tell you right now, they were rare, like super rare. Like I've been Googling all morning and I do not see anything comparable to what I had in my possession, which could have potentially been the finest collection of Japanese glass floats in all the land. Here's some more information. This is this guy's personal collection. Different colors, different rope styles, different marks. When you collect things, it's all about the marks. Do I have anything around here that has a mark on it? Yes, I do. So this is an insulator from a telephone pole, and it has the mark, the stamp on it. And so by looking at the stamp, you can tell where it was made, when it was made, that kind of thing. There are some beautiful examples of Japanese float glass. And I had a whole box. And I let it all go for like $25 because I was like, I don't want to ship these things individually. If I have to pack these things, and I was thinking about packing and like sending them far away and how I would have to pack them so they didn't break. And this guy was like, oh, I'll take them off your hands for, $25. And I was like, yeah, sure. So I screwed up a little bit. And you can go have your own experience. This is in Westport. Tells you how you can go. And here's a couple with their beautiful collection. Maybe that's the collection I got. The surprising U.S. region that's home to the world's oldest forest. Where do you think that is? It's in New York, in Cairo. Interesting that it's in Cairo, right? Picture a hot tropical landscape near the equator full of shallow seas. Birds and invertebrates don't yet exist. Neither does the Atlantic Ocean. Instead, a mountain range, the height of the Andes, looms over fragile stretches of trees that resemble palms. This is what New York State looked like during the Devonian period, roughly 400 million years ago. It was a pivotal moment in time when forests, as we now know them, first appeared on Earth, radically shifting the planet's climate. There are Devonian rocks scattered all over the world. But during the 19th and 20th centuries, the town of Gilboa, New York, became famous for the discovery of rare fossil forests. They were recognized as the oldest in the world at around 380 million years old. That is until the 2018 discovery at the quarry in nearby Cairo, and that was a 385 million year old forest. So a couple million years older. So the one in Gilboa was the young whippersnapper. There's lots of fossils. This is where the Devonian Sea was. I live right here, so I would have been dry. Look at those cool old plains. So pretty rad, right? Here's a picture of what New York may have looked like during the Devonian period. Artistic license was taken, but that's a cool picture. We're going to save that. So, the fantastical, magical process of cooking a big-ass piece of meat. I'm not sure how this happened. I was thinking about a couple Thanksgivings ago, maybe 6 or 7, where the oven broke, and our slumlord of a landlord didn't fix it. So for Thanksgiving, we didn't have an oven. So we ended up cooking meat in one of those turny things my friend Nancy donated. I forget what it's called. You put the meat in it and it spins and it heats it up. It's like a toaster oven kind of. Anyway, it got me thinking about cooking meat and how big pieces of meat were cooked back in the day. Because back in the day, you didn't have like these quaint little like pork chops. You were dealing with large pieces of meat. And oftentimes you would cook it all at once so that you could preserve it because there wasn't refrigeration like there is now. Originally, smoked meat was about two things: dehydrating it, like beef jerky, and working wood smoke into the meat, as smoke contains chemicals that are antibacterial. In the Southern barbecue tradition, though, we don't smoke for dehydration much. Rather, Southern barbecue focuses on a big, cheap, undesirable cut of meat, like brisket or pork shoulder, and cooking it for a long, long, long time. And then your family would live off the proceeds for days. This has evolved into its own regional cuisine, focused on taste and texture, more than producing a large quantity of cheap meat that keeps. And this talks about cooking a very large piece of meat. This is something that's been going on for a long time. As I said, back in the day, they used to eat pemmican. Pemmican is made with mixture of meat, berries, and fat, all mixed together. And it can last anywhere from several months to several years, depending on the composition. And it would have kind of everything that you would need for it. And so there's the other page about cooking your big ass piece of meat. And we also have a recipe here for pemmican. So if you decide that you want to make some pemmican, you want to go live off the land, here you go. This is how you do it. What is this? We're going to come back to that. This is one of the main things, one of the main topics. Going back to Atlantis. The Aswan Dam. The Aswan Dam is right here. And this is what the Nile used to look like. And then with the Aswan Dam, this area flooded. And all these places were covered over. And this particular slide should have been further ahead with the other picture I had of Nubia. But it's really to show you how things can disappear under the sand, disappear under the water. And sometimes humans are the ones that make that happen. Now, the Aswan Dam is a just incredible piece of technology. Here we have some of it being built. Now, this isn't so much Atlantis as it is leading up to Atlantis. But this corridor was chock full of artifacts. And so scientists got together, and archaeologists, and said, what can we do to preserve as many of these artifacts as possible? And there was a communal effort to save some of these items. Unfortunately, though, the ancient Egyptian fortress of Buin was lost to the Aswan Dam. So all of this is underwater. And UNESCO gave huge amounts of money to move the ancient sites, but nothing was done to move the villages that people were living today. They had to relocate by themselves, and sadly, some communities became scattered. So if you want to know how society can seemingly become reset, that's how. You flood a huge area, everybody has to move, that area is gone. The Temple of Philae. The Temple of Philae was built during the Ptolemaic period. It's located on Agilkia Island. It's dedicated to Isis. It was built by Ptolemy II, who wanted to honor his wife. It was one of the last places where ancient Egyptian religion survived after Christianity swept the shores in 550 AD. It was the last functioning temple in Egypt. The temple contains scenes from Egyptian mythology, including Isis bringing Osiris back to life, Isis giving birth to Horus, mummifying Osiris. The temple has 2 pylons. The first pylon has 2 towers, the Mamisi and the open forecourt. The second pylon has a hypostyle hall with 10 columns and 3 vestibules. The temple was moved from its original location on Philae Island to Agilkia Island after the flooding of Lake Nasser. And here's some about the salvage operation. And it's a salvage operation that inspired the world. I don't know about all that. Clearly a huge undertaking. These statues can't be moved completely. They have to be cut apart and then reassembled. A huge undertaking. Okay. Atlantis. America. Africa. This is from my boy Athanasius Kutcher, True Atlantis. This is north. South is at the top. So between America in Africa is Atlantis. Now, if we think like maybe this is like the UK area, if this is the UK area, then I'm not sure. I don't know what I'm getting at. But I think that maybe Atlantis is not there at all. I think that maybe Atlantis is in Siberia. This is Archaim. We looked at Archaim for a bit, like way, way, way back. You can see the circles, the concentric circles. This is referred to as Russian Stonehenge. Its discovery in the late 20th century sent shockwaves to the historical and archaeological communities. It's like 8,000 years old. And it looked, well, not like that because it's a commercial, but it looked like that. Incredible, right? But that's not all. There's a place called Lake Svetoyar, a small Russian Atlantis. The name Svetoyar means deep and bright waters. This particular lake could perhaps be an impact strike. It's in myths. It said that there was a crater there at one point. I don't know if that's actually, like, I didn't go too deep with it. There are several different opinions about the appearance of the lake, because it appeared suddenly and it swallowed up the city of Kite. So some say that it was of karst origin underneath the city and the whole thing fell out, the whole city collapsed. It could have been that there was an earthquake. But there are different theories. So how do you get there? General information and legends. What was I looking for? I was just showing you some general pictures of what it looks like. Now, I'll say what I'm going to say as soon as I show you all this stuff. Here it is. The locals tell a lot of interesting stories. They say that Svetoyar lives under the hills. If you touch the ground with your ear at night, you can hear the bell ringing. There's also a legend about magic fish. It is incredibly large and scares people at night. In addition, they say that Adam O'Learius, traveling across Russia, compiled chronicles. During his adventures, he encountered unusual tribes and once stumbled upon one deity in appearance similar to a crocodile. So we have reptilians. The invisible ancient city at the bottom of Lake Svetoyar. What was I going to show you? I think I have a reproduction here of what the city supposedly look like. Okay, it must be in the other link. Atlantis. No. No. I got rid of it. I'm moving on because I'm talking for way too long and I'm starting to fade out. So we're going to keep it moving. Okay, so Atlantis. We have the Richat in Mauritania. Lake Svetoyar in Siberia. And then we also have Atlantis found in Spain 11,000 years after tsunami. 11,000 years. The tsunami would have reached 60 miles inland. Scientists say they have discovered Atlantis, the legendary island and mighty military power destroyed by a tsunami 11,000 years ago in mudflats in southern Spain. One thing I found interesting, all of these articles, like, they stop in like 2011, 2013, and then there's like nothing. So I'm not sure what that's about. This is the power of tsunamis. It's hard to understand how it can wipe out a city 60 miles inland, but that's pretty much what we're talking about. The tsunami would have dwarfed the 10-meter wave that hit Japan on March 11 and traveled 6 miles inland. Atlantis is periodically found by scientists and eccentrics hoping to make a name for themselves. They have placed the mythical city in a number of locations, including Dogger Bank in the North Sea and Thera, the Greek island known better to tourists as Santorini, in the Mediterranean. However, the latest candidate does at least have the advantage of being pretty much exactly where the Greek philosopher Plato said it would be in the 4th century, although he was writing 9,000 years after Atlantis was destroyed. Circa 360 BC, Plato wrote in Timaeus that Atlantis was located in front of the mouth, which you Greeks call the Pillars of Hercules. He said Atlantis was an island which was larger than Libya, the Greek name for Africa, and Asia together. I mean, that's pretty big. So they're digitally mapping this, or they were back in 2011, 2013. This is the Gulf of Cadiz. This is the Iberian Peninsula, and there are circles within the land that can be discerned. Let's see, where is the... Oh, this site is cancer. Good old 12-foot. 12-foot is where you go if you want to watch, or if you want to look at a cleaner web page. Picture shows what UK firm believes are the remnants of the harbor wall of Atlantis, which was said to be 5.5 miles long. Now, the wall that they found, 275 feet thick, they think. Geologists say, that's not a wall, that's natural. Archaeologists are saying, no, that is a wall. Experts at Merlin Burrows believe the flooded ruins of legendary city are off the coast of southern Spain. The location is somewhere north of the city of Cadiz, Andalusia, centered around the Donana National Park, which historians believe was once a vast inland sea. And they claim that south and north of the park there is further evidence of the ancient civilization, along with 15 other settlements that dotted along the coastline. Most of these settlements are believed to be of Greek or Roman origin by archaeologists, as each civilization once occupied the area. But now, using unique satellite investigation techniques, aerial photography, and ground observations, experts believe that they have found all of the features of Atlantis Plato described and evidence of how they were destroyed. So this is one man's mission to prove. Here's an image of what it might have looked like based on what the infrastructure looks like underneath. I don't know, that looks kind of weird to me. Here's a foundation from a building. It does look awfully regular. Some of the ancient structures. The dolmen of Menga, which is a 5,500-year-old burial tomb near the Atlantica site. They suggest the tomb might have been part of Atlantis. And here's part of the circles, and it talks about, how that might have worked. So, is it Atlantis? I don't know. What do you think? Where did that jewelry thing go? Did I close that down? I probably did, didn't I? There we go. So, as I was poking around this week, we're getting ready to wrap up, I found some beautiful photos of Pakistan. Most people, you think of Pakistan and, you think of deserts and a whole lot of nothing. And then, of course, there is that there, but there's so much more than that. And the thing that got me thinking about Pakistan is across the street is where I buy my chicken from Crown Chicken. And Crown Chicken is owned by Pakistanis. And every time I go in there, we talk about Pakistan. And the geology. And one of the guys has a big ring of lapis. It's huge. He was excited that I knew what it was. Beautiful pictures of Pakistan. Some more pictures of Pakistan. This is more of a personal. It says, imagine being a whole-ass grown adult and thinking the U.S. does war for freedom, democracy, and human rights. So this is where I get a little conflicted, right? So I'm just gonna get on my horse for a second, and then we'll move on. But I consider myself a patriot. I was in the Marine Corps. I care deeply about my country. I would probably take a bullet for it, but I would not take a bullet for the politicians that are currently in office, and that means both sides. And war is really just a money-making machine. We have no business being in it, but we really have no choice because of the way the world is. We can't just be okay, well, we're not going to participate at all. We have to participate. That's world political stuff. So it's not realistic to say, oh, there can't be war, but I refuse to believe that some of the stuff we've got going on is necessary, or that we should be a part of it. But it's heartbreaking. I have a real hard time with war, and I have a real hard time with, I don't know. I spend a lot of time thinking about it, probably too much. Like if I'm comfortable and I'm in bed and I'm reading, I'll be like, oh, wow, there's, some kid starving in Gaza right now. And I think about that kid starving in Gaza, and like, I don't know what to do with that thought. I don't know where to put it. I don't know how to come to terms with it. So instead, I say like a prayer of gratitude, like, thank God I'm warm and comfortable where I am. And I also say, well, I hope things get better for that kid. When I say prayers, I don't mean God. I mean just more like a ritual of saying stuff out loud. I'm not a big believer. And people say, okay, well, why is there war? Why is there war? Why is there war? Well, if you're 5 years old and your entire apartment building gets blown up and all of your relatives get killed, you're going to grow up saying that you want revenge on those people. That's what your whole life is going to be. And you're going to grow up without health care. You're going to grow up without, proper nutrition. And it's going to do stuff to your brain. And you're just going to be a different person than the person who's comfortable in bed in America. It's just, the brain is totally different. I have a little bit of experience in this. And I have a little bit of experience in this because of the way that I grew up. The way that I grew up, at times I was starved. I was beaten. I don't say that for sympathy. I say that because I understand what it's like to grow up in a world where the threat of violence hangs over your head every minute of every day. And I understand what that does to your brain and how it affects a person mentally. And how there has to be a better way. I know I'm being like, but there has to be a better way. These are just random pictures that I found. Anyway, that's my talk on war. I feel like I understand war a little bit more than some people. And I don't know. We have to do better. We have to do better. Just some more pictures, and then we're going to put on some music, and we're going to listen to some more Troy Frederick, and we're going to look at some jewelry. This is the song that actually got me thinking about war. So I apologize for that. I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer. Just we're looking at jewelry. Contemporary jewelry from the National Museum. So this is basically weird stuff for rich people. All right, you know what? I can't listen to that song. I'm going to start crying. I don't want to do that on camera. But I would encourage everybody to think about just how you feel about the issues and where you stand, and make sure you're educated on them. First and foremost, make sure you're educated, or as educated as possible, as much as you can be. Don't trust the yum-yums in charge to tell you what's really going on. And I'm not for any side in any of the wars that are going on right now. I think they're all shitty. What I am for are the innocent people that are losing everything and just, So, this episode went in a totally different direction than I expected. I apologize for that. I'm just in a weird mood. But let's change this mood up. Remember, I have a job now. So I will be employed next week, making a paycheck. So good things are ahead. The plan right now is to save money and, I don't know, keep working on my silly little hobbies, whatever they might be. For my own benefit, if other people like it, cool. If not, you know. This is some crazy looking jewelry, right? All right, guys, that's it. I'm going to bid you all a very happy Sunday, and I will see you next week.